Hiya. Well, we're really cracking through this now. You're learning heaps, and I hope you've started putting things into practice. We know how much food we need to eat. We know what it looks like on a plate. I've even shown you how it looks like on a plate as well, and how you can do it for yourself. So now we need to move on to the next sort of phase. And if you remember when I was talking about when I lost my 25 kilos, one of the things that I did was I started to learn my body. So I started to learn to hear what my body was telling me in terms of when I was hungry and when was time to eat. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. We're going to talk about a process called the Hunger Games.
Hi, it's Sarah here again. I'm going to talk to you now about another little exercise that you can do to work out when is a good time for you to eat, and it's called the Hunger Games. Now it's about sort of 10:30, and it's 4.5 hours now since I had breakfast, and I'm starting to get hungry. So what I do is, before I actually go and eat something, I check in with myself and I rate how hungry I feel on a scale of 1 to 10. 1 being I'm absolutely stuffed full, I could never ever eat anything in my whole life, otherwise I'll just explode. Or 10 is, oh my God, I could eat the carpet because I'm just that hungry. So right now I'm starting to get hungry, and I'd probably give myself about a 5 or a 6. It's not particularly annoying right now. I'm just starting to notice it. So I'm thinking to myself, could I eat something? Should I eat something? Well, right now I'd probably rate myself about a 5 or 6 out of 10 on the terms of the hunger scale. So I'm not going to eat anything right now. Now, a good time to eat is when you rate yourself between 7 and 8 on the hunger scale, because that indicates that you perhaps genuinely are hungry. Now, what I am doing is just to make sure that I'm really not hungry, and that 5 or 6 is correct. I've actually just gone and made myself a nice cup of tea and had a big glass of water. You see, often when you think you're hungry, you could actually be dehydrated. Hunger is a sort of symptom of dehydration, and very many of us are actually really don't drink enough water or fluid during the day anyway, and we mistake being hungry for actually being dehydrated. So a good habit to get into to actually help you drinking more water or fluids generally is when you check in and you feel that you're about 5 or 6 on the hunger scale, is actually go and get something to drink, and then probably check in with yourself again in about half an hour to see if you're genuinely hungry. So this is not only a way of identifying your true level of hunger, but it's also a way that you can squeeze in more fluid during the day, which is going to benefit you anyway. I mean, again, there's so many studies proving that the more hydrated you are, the better your chances of losing weight. So, like I say, I'm doing the Hunger Games. I've checked in with myself, and I've rated myself on a scale from 1 to 10, and I think I'm about a 5 or 6. So to just make sure that it is genuine hunger that I am starting to feel, I've actually also had something or going to have something to drink, so that when I check in with myself again, or my hunger starts increasing to become a point where I feel that I need to eat again, then I know that when I do sort of get to a 7 or 8, it'll probably be a genuine 7 or 8 rather than a dehydration 7 or 8, if you see what I mean. Okay, so this is how you can identify when is the right time to eat. And actually, on a side note, I should say that we're 4.5 hours from when I last ate. That's actually another indication to me that my metabolism is still downregulated, because when I'm on preparation for my competitions, usually by I'm usually drinking 4 or 5 litres of water a day, so dehydration is definitely not a problem. But about 2.5 hours after I've eaten a meal, I literally am rating myself a 7 or 8, verging on a 9, so I'm hanging out for my next meal. So the fact that it's been 4.5 hours and I'm only at about 5 or 6 shows how, I guess, slow my metabolism is at the moment. Anyway, so that's another little side note. So the exercise is the Hunger Games. When you feel that you're getting hungry, and you're probably about 5 or 6, have something to drink so that it's not dehydration hunger, and then check in with yourself again, and when you get to a 7 or 8, that is the time to eat a meal.
So there you have it. That's the Hunger Games. Now, what I recommend you do, and this is how you really learn your body and learn how many meals a day is the right number for you. There is no right or wrong number of meals per day. Probably heard you should eat 3 square meals a day, you should eat 6 meals a day, you should eat more frequent meals. None of that's true. The only thing that is right is what is right for you. And this is how you learn your unique body blueprint. Okay, so I've just created a journal here. I've just made a note. The idea of the worksheet is to get you into the habit of noticing how physically hungry or full you are. And then there's some things to look for in terms of hunger, such as a growling stomach, sense of emptiness, lightheadedness, headaches, often irritability or shakiness. So these are real good cues for how hungry you are. I've noted down some goals as well. So stay aware of your physical hunger cues and learn how to calibrate your eating. Okay, so that's what you will learn from this. So you start eating when you're around 7 or higher, and you stop eating when you're around 2 or 3. Now, 2 or 3 equates to approximately 80% full. Okay, so you don't want to be stuffed, you want to be about 80% full, so you're satisfied. So this will teach you what being satisfied is. Okay, and then just make a note of your thoughts and emotions and physical sensations around your eating times. Okay, so that you learn when you need to eat as opposed to you want to eat or you should eat or you're just eating because you're bored. Okay, so this will really clue you into what hunger actually feels like. And as I said before, often we mistake dehydration for hunger, I should say. So how you do the journal is you record the date and the time. You check in with yourself when you notice some of those sort of sensations and you go, how hungry am I? Okay, I think I'm about a 9. In fact, I know I'm 9 because I'm absolutely starving. Okay, so now's a good time to eat. And then you notice how full you are when you've stopped. And then you just make a couple of comments. Why did I eat too much there? Well, it's probably because I skipped breakfast. So I overate in that circumstance. Note to self, must eat breakfast. Okay, so if you write down your starting and your ending hunger, you'll start noticing, you'll actually start self-correcting. If you do this over a course of a couple of weeks, like I say, it takes you about 2 weeks. If you do it consistently, it takes you about 2 weeks to form the habit. Once you've got into this habit, you'll start noticing a pattern. So while your first couple of days might be wildly all over the place, you'll gradually notice how it starts to stabilize, and pretty soon you'll be hitting it fairly consistently, 7 or 8 each time, and finishing your meals when you're 2 or 3. Okay, so give that a go. I highly recommend you do the journal. And if you actually do want a copy of this, by the way, just drop me a message on Facebook or LinkedIn or wherever you've seen the video. Just drop me a comment or a note, and I'm more than happy to email it to you, message it to you, whatever you like, because these journals are absolutely brilliant. Okay, so give that a go. I highly recommend it. Have a bit of fun with it. It is called the Hunger Games for a reason. It will teach you, once you learn this, you'll never ever go wrong ever again. You will always know when's the right time for you to eat and how many meals per day. You get this right, you're set up for the rest of your life. Nobody will ever be able to tell you, oh, you should be eating 4 meals a day. Well, you really ought to eat 3 square meals a day. None of that. All goes away. You'll be able to say, no, 5 is the right number for me. Okay, and you'll know that with absolute certainty. Okay, so give it a go, and I hope that helps.